Next, we move to an exciting session, Real Outcomes, Not Hype. Agent Blueprints for AI-powered cybersecurity. Please welcome Mr. Anurag, Security and Privacy Lead at Glen.
While we are getting the things set up here, I just want to inform the audience that we will have a Q&A session and the answer, we'll have a quiz in fact, not a Q&A will always be there, but we'll also have a quiz. So whoever gives the best answer will get a prize. So please be attentive as Anurag takes his session.
Okay, I think while the setup happens, let me get started. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Anurag. I work for a company called Glean. I am a part of the security engineering team at Glean. We are an AI native company where we're working hands-on on a lot of agents, building agents for our customers, and for our internal use cases around cybersecurity. But a small disclaimer. So today I'm not representing Glean. All of my views and the presentation is my personal, and the views are my personal. I'm not representing my company. I'm also a part of the CSA Bangalore core team, and also volunteer for CSA Bangalore chapter. So just a quick context on how I came up with this idea of doing this quick presentation. This might be basic for a lot of you guys who are actually working on agents right today. So the idea basically is we keep attending a lot of conferences and a lot of knowledge transfer happening through the people that we meet offline, right? So during that course, basically I've identified that lot of discussions are happening on what you can do with AI or with agents tomorrow, right? How is this entire space coming up? How is it entire thing evolving? And how do we take advantage of that today, right? In that context, I just wanted to take you through what you can do today, right now, in automating, your own spaces, whatever domain that you're working in under cybersecurity or under information security. How can you, use the resources that are available today, and how can you automate things, right? So these are some things that we are personally doing. We are seeing a lot of value and time reduction with respect to achieving a task or completing a task end to end. And I just wanted to give a high-level walkthrough on what is this entire, just bursting the myth around what are these agents, what is MCP, and how do we connect that back to cybersecurity, what are the use cases that we are solving, right? So that will be the overall agenda. So I'll be, on a very high level, I'll be talking about what is an MCP for those who don't know, and how does it connect back to your agents? What are these agents altogether, right? I think Arun did a good job in talking about the differences between agentic AI and AI agents, right? So this entire space is evolving. There's a lot of changes that are happening on a day-to-day basis, right? So it's a very fast moving space. A lot of enhancements are coming up every day. And it's very important that we are on top of the game, both in terms of defending and also using it for the right purposes, right? So I'll talk about a very high-level architecture, and then probably 4 use cases that I've identified, from different domains in cybersecurity, just to give a overview or an idea on how we can use agents, right? So agents are basically, it's an interaction between LLM and tools that are underlying, right? So if you ask me what is an agent, that's it. Like it just helps you with communication between LLMs. It can be any LLM and the tools that are underlying, right? To basically perform actions, right? Now actions are set of anything, like be it creating a Jira ticket, or sending a Slack notification, or creating a Google Doc, anything, right? So basically agents are those which are helping you in bridging the gap, helping with the communication, so that there's added intelligence and processing that's happening. We already had automation of sequential tasks for a long time. Agents has nothing to do with that. It's to bring AI, connect all of these 3 things together, and basically have a communication channel between all these 3 things, right? That's the core idea of agents. And now all of this is happening in natural language. So Initial set of agents, we had the first generation of agents, right, where there was a lot of requirement for coding that needed to be done in order to establish communication between different channels, between LLM and your tools. Now with the new age agents, what essentially happened is, all this communication is happening seamlessly with natural language. So it's within a few seconds or within a minute, you can actually set up an agent that can automate a lot of your work, right? That's the enhancement that has happened in the past few months, I would say. And a lot of companies who are, big time into agents are already releasing these agents, partnering with companies who have native actions that are built, right, which are, again, at the end of the day, like Deepa mentioned in the first session, are using APIs in the backend, right? So having, using those APIs, establishing the connection, and performing tasks or actions, right? So that's the primary difference between the agents that that were available a few months ago and which are available now. The primary differentiator there is MCP, right? So let's quickly look at what MCP is for those who don't know. It is the Model Context Protocol. MCP basically is a unified interface which is primarily helping with connections with all the other all different tools, right? Earlier it was a single connection with each and every tool that you had to write a prompt or get an action done or use the agent. But now it is MCP basically helps you. This protocol basically helps you to connect with. It's a unified channel that will help you to connect with all different tools and perform actions, right? Like like people say, it's basically USB Type C of AI, right? So you have everything, one single socket that can fit everything. So MCP is exactly that, right? This is a very high-level architecture on how agents are being built today. You have the top layer, which is a chatbot, typically a chatbot layer. For developers, I think you can relate to Cursor or Windsurf. I think majority of the organizations are using this today. Similarly, you have multiple other platforms, right? So any chatbot platform can be the interface between the user and the agent creation platform. And then you have the MCP protocol that is establishing connection or helping you to get that unified channel. And you have the MCP server. MCP server is where you have all these connections that are set up, right? So let's say I'll have to communicate to Slack or send a notification on Slack. Now that has to be configured, right? You'll have to use some API and configure it securely where you have credentials or something, access is established, and you send notifications, push notifications to Slack. Or similarly, take action on creating a Jira ticket or something like that, right? So that is where MCP server comes into picture, and like you see, it is all unique APIs that are connecting to different tools. So there's a very high-level architecture around how agents are structured. The new age agents, which are functional now, are structured. Now with this, I'll quickly get into the use cases part, right? So some of the use cases that we are solving or we are using agents today are around different areas of cybersecurity. One couple of those I've picked up from the AppSec side. Right, so I'm sure most of you know the iframe testing that happens, right? One of the biggest or set of emails that you see if you have an active bug bounty program is a lot of people who claim themselves to be security researchers sending you a lot of clickjacking emails, right? And that goes back to one of the major reasons is iframes and how the page loads and all of that. So this testing, typically, let's say you have a web page, then this is the manual flow that happened till date. Like a typical security engineer checks the PRD if you have coming that from a dev team. The PRT is first checked, and then you check the design patterns, you come up with different patterns of testing, you do the testing at the end of the day as a security engineer, and then you look at the OWASP guidelines for the secure implementation guidelines and pass it back to the developer then goes back and fixes them, and you do a retesting and finally close the loop and close the PRD saying, hey, this is secure, right? And then it goes to the next stage. Now this is a very time-taking process, right? So let's say you have you're a startup or you have a skeleton AppSec team, and they're always loaded, right? And then you get to prioritize what is important, what is not, and a lot of security leakages happen through that approach. So now to cut short that time, that is where LLM and MCP, the agents are coming into picture. With this, if you see I mean, it's a natural prompt. If you, let's say, build an agent to perform the same set of testing which we spoke about, it will do in like a few minutes, right? It'll basically, this is what happens in the back end. Like for the front end, once you build an agent, all you tell an agent is to perform a security review of implementation, probably talk about iframes or whatever that you want specific testing around. And all that happens in the backend is basically the LLM communication with MCP, how it sends the structured queries to MCP, and the calls for OAS, the recommendation, everything comes into picture, and then it automatically sends the output report, which is like a good summary that you can pass it back to the developers and fix the issues. So all of this, I think, once you build an agent, all the manual tasks that would earlier take a lot of time would come down to a few minutes, right? So with which you can finish your web app testing, especially with respect to iframes or something. So similarly, we have something around XSS attack vectors that we are using actively, where it's again similar process, right? Where you have a security engineer looking at all of these attack patterns, coming up with payloads, and AppSec testing is very complex when it comes to payloads, and it depends on who is testing it at the end of the day, right? And their expertise. So all of this can be automated because LLMs can function. They can give you a lot of payloads. You can have agent to go in multiple loops to make sure all the payloads have been tested within a few minutes, right? And all of these results are out. So there are multiple tools that are available now. I think one of them have a booth also outside. Don't want to take names, but a lot of this AppSec testing is being automated with agents, and you can basically accomplish an entire application testing much faster now compared to what you would have been doing, like, let's say 1 year ago or 6 months ago for that matter. Right? There's again a summary of how the LLM works or the agent works in the backend, how the communication happens, and multiple loops that it takes to accomplish the task, right? The other example I have, one of my favorites, is around incident management, right? So incident management, for those who are into SOC or incident management workflows, know how tedious the process is. Let's say you have an incident now. You are required to basically, as a part of the investigation, you basically create a Jira ticket or a document that talks about all the identifications, the investigation pattern, who is assigned to work on this incident, from which teams are they assigned, and how is the communication happening. Probably create a Slack channel or a Teams group where all the communication is established, and it's all a lot of manual tasks, right? Someone has to be there to sit and do all of these tasks where they create a Jira ticket, they create a document, they create a Slack channel, continuously update on a daily basis if it's a critical incident. And if customer communication or regulatory communication is involved, then it's even more challenging, right? All this can be actually automated using an agent. With an agent, you can create an agent today with the available resources. There are some freewares available with which you can actually set up and create the agents. Where you can automate all of these set of actions, like creating a Jira ticket, done. Slack communication, done. Who is the incident management team? You update the agent about these things, then it will automatically tag the incident depending on the severity to whatever designation in the organization who will be responsible to it, and create a Slack channel. Communication is done. Create a document. Entire information about the investigation goes in there. Every day it checks until the incident is closed, and then ensures the complete closure of the incident document, right? So all this can be automated using agents. And one last use case today I have is around vendor risk management. How many of you are in TPRM or looked at vendor risk management? Can you please raise your hands? Okay. So in vendor risk, you know how complicated or difficult the process is, right? And it's time taking. More than difficult, I think it's a lot time taking, where you reach out. Let's say someone in your organization wants to onboard a vendor, then you basically send them a questionnaire. The age-old method of doing it is sending them a questionnaire. Let them fill it, share all their, get access to all their SOC 2 or ISO or whatever, all the security documentation through their trust center, or get a dump of it manually, and then review all of those, right? And SOC 2 reports, as you know, are like 100, 200 pages documents, and if you want to manually review, analyze their entire SOC 2 report, and see if there are any exceptions and all of that, it's a lot of time that goes in to do all of this manually. But with an agent, what we can do is we can do, I personally use an agent for this, and I've significantly cut down the time that I am, requiring to do a complete vendor assessment from, start to stop. Um, I have two levels of checks that are in place, right? So basically, I gather all the documents that are required, be it their SOC 2 reports or whatever the security documentation. I input them. My agent takes all of this documentation. It is triggered automatically when there is a new submission. I have a workflow that is set up there. So it basically checks all the security documentation that is available and uploaded onto my platform, and it reviews all of that document. SOC 2 report takes barely a few seconds to review, and so the documentation is one level, and the second level is basically to run an entire internet check on how hygienic is this company. Are there any previous breaches? Do they have an active bug bounty program? How are they involving? Do they have active security roles, etc., etc.? So all that is a second level of check that we do right with this agent. So both the levels now, it comes back with a score telling me, hey, this organization has problems in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and is really good in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? With that, my review process has become so easy that I can, the agent also assigns a score to each of the vendor, and we can really, finish the process very soon, unless you have, more questions and the iteration continues. So I think. Yeah, this is the automated, this is how the agent works. Basically, one command, and all of this is happening in native language, right? In English language, you can actually talk to an agent, just like how you use prompts in ChatGPT. You can just use those similar prompts to create an agent and let it do the work for you, right? So these are a few thoughts that I wanted to share, which can help in breaking the myth around how agents are shaping up. And like I said, it's an evolving domain. A lot of changes are happening, improvement is happening. We are also talking about automating or running these agents in the background, right? So a lot of automation happening and improvements are happening in this space. So maybe if you're interested, you can use the publicly available resources to build an agent yourself, build an MCP, or use an MCP server that is existing to start creating your own agents, or use some enterprise tools that are there to build your own agents to automate stuff. So yeah, at the end of the day, it helps in reducing the time required to perform a task significantly with agents. That's all, I think. With that, I'll hand it over to Usha or Anushri. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anurag, for that sharing your valuable insights on AI driving blueprints in cybersecurity. And now it is the exciting time for quiz. So, can you please show the question? So the first question, I'll come down. Which statement best describes the relationship between first generation agents and the model context protocol? So it's A, B, C, or D. Should I read the options for you, or is it visible? Oh, so can you please pass the mic here?
I think it's option C.
Okay, and you have to explain why it is the option C.
Because latest agents can deliver more performance because they are more trained. That's why.
Okay, I think the answer is right, but explanation maybe will.
Okay.
Anyone else wants to give a try? Can you please pass the mic here? We will come to you. Also.
Yeah.
Yeah, MCP was introduced later. It was not available during that time.
Yeah, that's right. So first generation of agents, there was no concept of MCP, so they were more manual and code-based. But the later generations, the ones that are available now, it is much faster because of MCP.
So congratulations. Can you please come on the stage? He will hand it. Can you please introduce yourself and which organization you are working in?
Yeah, I am Praveen Patro from Dell. Thank you.
Congrats, Praveen. So we are having one more question. What is the first step in an automated LLM-based workflow to check for excesses vulnerabilities on a web page?
You can raise your hands.
Here, can you please pass the mic there?
Just raise your hands.
The user provides the URL to LLM chat interface.
The user provides the URL to the LLM chat interface, and why you feel that that is the
It's
right
the first
answer?
step, right? You first provide the target and then accordingly prepare the payload and send it to.
Okay. Anyone else wants to give a try? Okay, so no one else. Can you please come? Oh, there's one hand. He's raising, I think, his hand.
It's first one A.
The answer will be A, as per you.
Yeah.
Okay, and why it should be A?
The LLM generates the auto payloads. I mean, manually we have a list of payloads. Using the scenario, different scenario, on the platform, it generates the auto payloads and send it through MCP
Okay.
to the tool script.
Okay, I think the answer is B. That's because the A talks about generating payloads randomly. So, I mean, it's in the context of the attack, so it's not randomly generated payloads. So the answer is B.
Sure. Thanks, Anurag, for helping us there. Can you please come, the first one who has raised their hand? Anurag, can you please help in? Please introduce yourself and which organization.
Hi guys, I'm Swapnil Sharma, working as Information Security Manager at Exact.
So now I may invite Usha to felicitate our speaker, Anurag. Thank you, Usha. Thank you once again, Anurag, for sharing your insights with us. Please have a big round of applause.
So are you all hungry now? Yes? Right, so that concludes our pre-lunch session. We are now breaking for a networking lunch, and I request everyone to be back by sharp 2, where we will continue with more exciting discussions and some goodies to be won after the quiz. So see you after the lunch.